All right, so I am recording. I got this up on my screen this morning. Just wondering, as you guys have been logging in, before we start and get into the meeting, was there any discussion about this picture that I have on the screen? Does anybody have any thoughts about where are the biggest leaks in this house?
Cantilevers.
Was that Scott?
Yeah.
So Scott says cantilevers. Anybody else have thoughts on this one? Nobody's brave enough to venture a guess.
Balloon framing in the levels.
Some balloon framing in the levels. Attics. Maybe some of, like right through here, maybe. Is that what you're thinking, Jesse? Anybody else have any other thoughts that they were wondering or thinking about on this one? All right, well, we'll come back to that in just a minute. Let's go ahead and get started. If I can figure out how to run my computer here. So Chris Hansen with the State Historical Preservation Office is on the line with us this morning, and we're going to turn the majority of the meeting over to him. I've just got a couple of minutes worth of stuff I want to go through, just housekeeping stuff, and then we'll turn the time over to him. He's going to show us, SHPO has a new online submission process. Some of you may have tried it, but Chris is going to kind of walk us through that and give us an opportunity to ask him questions and get any guidance that we need from him. So Chris, thanks for joining us, and if you'll bear with me for a minute, I'll go through a few things, and then the floor will be yours. So,
okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
As per usual, I've just got training opportunities listed, nothing new. Everybody, please remember that next month, a month from now, we do have our state training. So everybody at your agency should be planning to attend the state training. We do have a few national trainers coming in. Wade, are you on the line? Or I'm not sure if Wade's around this week or not. All right, if Wade's not around, he's had some family stuff come up this week. But Wade's been working very hard planning, getting this training put together. But please plan on being up at the training center on those dates. I know he's sent out some emails about lodging and things like that, so please follow the instructions he's given you there. Also be aware of national conferences, and remember out-of-state travel requests need to be submitted to the state. Is anybody aware of any other training opportunities that this group could benefit from? If you know of any and you just want to shoot me an email or anything, I can share them with the rest of the group also. So, didn't have any old business. I did want to talk about a couple of things. One of them is the next technical meeting. We're actually not going to hold one in February because we will be doing that state training. So join us for the state training, and then our next online technical meeting like this won't be until the first Tuesday in March. So the monthly production, just wanted to go through that really quickly. So as of the 31st of December, this is where we were at. On the left-hand side, this is the blue part was basically the total of every agency's goal for the month. And then the red part, again, is the actual production for the month. As you can see in December, our total goal was 23. And these are just the completed weatherized units. And we actually turned in 33. So I think this is the first time we went over the goal, which is good because we do still have to play a little bit of catch up. And then on the right-hand side, is just kind of the running total. As you can see, we had a little bit of a uptick there in December where we caught up a little bit, but we are still, overall, we're still behind about 30 some odd units. But we really appreciate the extra efforts during December to go beyond your goals. Encourage you guys to keep going because we will still have to make those up in this second half of the year. But thank you so much for all your efforts and for everything you're doing, not only to reach the goals, but to serve all of our customers and to do good weatherization. So thank you guys for that. Does anybody have any questions on production? All right. And then the last thing I want to talk about is I just want to take a couple of minutes here and talk about this picture and just something we're starting to see out as we've been monitoring. Gold star for Scott Bolander. The thing I wanted to talk about here is cantilevers. This is a house. I just grabbed something off of Google yesterday and found a house that basically it's a split level home. You've probably seen this home, and then it's got stucco on it. A lot of the stuff we're dealing with will have vinyl siding and things like that, but I picked one with stucco because the stucco and the brick on this house, whether our air barriers on the inside of the wall or outside of the wall, the stucco and the brick on this house make this house fairly airtight where the stucco is. And so really when you start thinking about where are the air leaks, it would be, we'd want to know how tight the wall is between the garage and the rest of the house. And then how tight the ceiling is here and here at the attic. And then I think it was Jesse that mentioned maybe where these walls come together, any balloon framing or anything like that. But we're noticing more homes during our monitoring that have cantilevers in them. I think we are kind of the homes that were being built with lots of cantilevers have kind of aged into our program. And a couple of the homes that I recently monitored, I left there feeling like the cantilever was probably the biggest opportunity for air sealing. And so wanted to put it out to this group and ask you guys to kind of think about if there are better ways, better opportunities to do some air sealing on the cantilevers. Just really quickly, I drew up just a quick sketch for anybody who is not super familiar with how the cantilever goes together. Hang on, I got to mute somebody here. Okay. Yeah, basically, just, cantilever is going to be these little portions of the house where the framing sticks out past the foundation and hangs out or cantilevers over the foundation. Typically, the builders will finish this off with some sort of aluminum soffit. Sometimes they'll finish off with other things. But if there is no soffit and you can look up in there, there's typically framing. Sometimes there's some insulation. Sometimes there's not. And usually right on this wall, there's going to be some blocking. But if you take a look in there, especially if they're using I-joists, that blocking is rarely an airtight or an air barrier. Sometimes if these are 2x10s, then you do have some tighter blocking and things like that, so you do get a little bit better air barrier. But the question or the thing to kind of think about is, where are we establishing our air barrier on a cantilever? If this basement wall is going to be our air barrier, then we'd go up and we'd typically rely upon this blocking to be our air barrier. And then we use the floor as the air barrier, and then our next air barrier is that wall. And so now we have a nice complete air barrier. But in some homes, they've got a finished basement. We have no idea if there is an air barrier at the where the blocking was supposed to be, and we don't know how tight it is. A lot of homes, they tend to have installed some ductwork that actually reaches through that blocking. A lot of times the HVAC guy will reach up there with a hammer and remove that blocking and never put it back. So sometimes there's a big gaping hole there. And one of the things I'd like everybody to kind of think about, figure out if we can do is, instead of making this blocking and the floor above it our air barrier, if we could figure out how to make the soffit the air barrier, then the ductwork would then be inside the envelope, and we wouldn't have to worry about all the air sealing along the blocking. Now, in some cases, if the basement's finished, it may be better, maybe more cost-effective to establish your air barrier along that blocking. But in those homes where it is a finished basement, or maybe we may find techniques that just might be quicker to establish the air barrier out here. So, wondering if you guys will look at it. Auditors, when you're out there auditing, consider things you can do. Basically, what I'd like to see a few people try is to remove the aluminum soffit that does not establish a good air barrier. And after you've done some air sealing, maybe air sealing just like you would the rim over here, you'd also need to air seal the rim where these joists touch the rim board. But if you could do some air sealing in there and then put something on the bottom, like some T111, something with some primer on it, maybe some, we could even do some CDX and primer if you wanted to, but probably something that, some of the hardy board, things like that. Anyway, if you guys will kind of think about that, try a few things. We're looking for best practices. As you try that, will you please reach out to myself or Dalton, and we'd like to, at some point in the next couple of months, we'd like to come out and get some photos of it, and we'll be writing a best practices if we find that this is actually effective. Anybody have any questions or thoughts on that for right now? All right, I'm hearing none, but please give it some thought, give it a try. Obviously, auditors, you're going to have to do some good estimating so that we don't have cost overruns on this measure. But if you've got a home where you've got cantilevers and it's a good opportunity and you have a little room in your air sealing budget, please try that out and let us know how it's working. So, all right, that's all I have for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Chris. Let me just click a couple of things here. All right, Chris, you should have a button on your end to start sharing your screen with us.
Let's see. Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Not yet, but sometimes there's a delay.
Okay. I'm not seeing a button. Can you maybe do that again? I don't know.
Let's see.
Right. I mean, my screen came up, but I didn't see a button or anything to push.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to, dismiss it. And then I'll try that again. Uh-oh. I may have cut you completely off.
Oh, it says the organizer has dismissed you.
You've been dismissed, Chris. Sorry.
That was easy.
You're going to have to join our meeting again. Sorry about that.
Okay. Oh, no problem. Let me pull up my email so I can click on that link.
All right.
I'll hurry and join. All right. I think I'm up again.
Yep. You have arrived, it says.
Great.
Okay, I'm going to make you presenter again.
Okay. Oh, it says show my screen. Click on that.
Yeah.
Okay. And
All right, now we can see your screen.
okay, great. So am I good to go?
Yep, I can see your slideshow, it looks like.
Right. Yeah, I have a PowerPoint and some links and some documents to show. So
Right.
guess I'll get started.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, first off, thanks, Matt. That was actually really good information that you provided. You know, I live in a 60s and 70s neighborhood, and we see a lot of those cantilevered bays. So that's very interesting information. Thanks for having me. You know, I just want to start out by saying I really appreciate the work you guys are doing. You know, you provide a very valuable public service. And you do great work, you know. I think my mom's house was done in about 2010 by Weatherization organization, and she's forever grateful for the work you did on her home. So I think you guys do great work. So thank you for the work you do. You know, my name's Chris Hansen. I work for the State Historic Preservation Office. I'm an architectural historian, and I review all projects affecting historic buildings. We also have an archaeology side of the office. I don't know if you guys ever get involved in digging or trenching. You know, if you do, you'll want to contact that side of the office. But from what I understand, you just work on building and building envelopes. So I think I'll just focus on that. I know I've reviewed many projects for many of you, and I know I have talked with several of you in the past. So it's good to be here today. I kept going back and forth trying to decide what you might benefit the most from with this presentation today. And so in the end, I thought I'd give you a little bit of everything regarding both our new process, the E106 or the electronic compliance system that Matt mentioned that we've put in place. And I'd also like to touch up a bit on kind of the nuts and bolts about what makes a building historic and what the effect that work you might have on them would be. You know, what meets the preservation standards and what might not work. You know, ultimately, we want you to submit to us everything you need up front. You know, nothing more, nothing less, so your project won't be delayed and we don't have to halt. So I'll save some time for questions at the end. But if you have questions during my talk, my presentation, please feel free to interrupt and ask questions. I want to gear this as much to your needs as anything. So I just want to make sure all your questions and concerns are answered and addressed. So there's my contact information. If you ever have questions about anything, you know, whether it's formal or informal, feel free to give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you. I enjoy talking about this stuff, so I'd be happy to chat. And so, you know, let's get into our new electronic compliance system. You know, this is a big change for us in our office and for those who we consult with. You know, and my colleague over in archaeology, she actually oversees this program or this system. And if she was here this morning, I'd have her involved in this presentation. But I'll do the best I can, and I'll be as straightforward as possible. I think it's pretty straightforward, and I think I have some good kind of information for you that can help you get into our system. So I'll do the best I can. So advances in technology and documentation requirements in Utah provided us an opportunity to move forward with, you know, this electronic system from our paper-based compliance system. We've been doing the hard copy mail system for 40 years in our office since we've been around, basically. And so I think this digital workflow, you know, it's a big change to you, but it's a huge change for us. And we're trying to make this as easy on everybody as possible. So in the end, I think this will save a lot of time, and it will provide a lot of cost savings to agencies. You know, you don't have to print off and, you know, put stuff in an envelope anymore. You know, you just log on to the system and just upload information and send my way. And hopefully I can get back to you, you know, with a quick response on your projects. You know, we started this project, or this system, I should say, in late November. And we've had nothing but positive feedback. Although we've had a few minor glitches, you know, we're working those out, but I think the system works really well. And I think it'll work well for you. Might take a couple of tries sending us stuff, you know, but once you're logged in, I think you'll be able to use it pretty easily. So once again, no more paper submissions and hard copy mailings for historic site forms, reports, agency letters, etc. You know, you'll just be sending all that information digitally to us. If you haven't already, you'll need to create an account in our system. And I don't know what will work best for you. I don't know if each individual will be submitting stuff through this system, or if you'll designate a person within your office who will submit, information to our system. But whatever works best for you, we want to work with you, whatever works best. So, I'll let you decide how you want to do that. But let me show you the web page we created to help guide agencies to this information. Oh, sorry. Let me find the right link here. Okay. And with all this information, all the links I'll be showing, all the documents I will be showing you guys, I can maybe send that information to each of you or maybe to Matt, and he can send it out to you so you have those. But I'll be going through several different documents in web pages today, so I'll be sure to send those out after this meeting so you have those accessible. So here's the main web page for our U106 process. This will give you all the information you need to be able to submit a project to our office. So this will be a link you'll want to bookmark and probably reference on a regular basis. So essentially, kind of cutting to the chase, what we need from you, I think, is pretty simple. I need a letter from your agency or organization that provides a description of your project, that talks about your project's location, the address of the property essentially, and some other basic information. So that's the first thing, the agency letter. And you've been submitting me agency letters over the years, and I think kind of a refined copy of that would be fine. And I'll show you an example here in a minute. The second thing I need from you is a historic building site form, which I'll also send to you. It's a fillable PDF that you can embed photos in, and all the relevant information about the building you'll be submitting to me. So just those two things, an agency letter and the historic site form. I've tried to make the historic building site form as basic as I could, and you're already submitting me agency letters. So I think those will be pretty easy to get into our U106 system. So let me show you an example of an agency letter. This is one I received fairly recently. I just pulled up this morning, but this is one that Salt Lake County submitted to us. So just a quick overview. It gives the agency letterhead, which we like to see. The agency letterhead, so it's an official letter. It's addressed to me, and this is the information they put on it, which I think is fine. This is a fine letter. So it's the Salt Lake County is using their funds, federal funds, which discusses it being a federal compliance project, and it gives the address of the property, and it also talks about the year the home was built. And that's fine. You don't need to include that information, but if you want to, that's fine, because that information will be included in the historic site form. But this is kind of the heart of the matter here. It's the project description that we really kind of clue in on. You can see what it says here. And all that information there, the work activity they're doing, our office really doesn't have any major concerns about that. That work is not very likely to affect any important character-defining features of a historic home. So we're okay with the work. Then the second part of the letter, which is important as well, is they make a determination. So you give the project description, which is kind of the number one key item we like to see. Then the number two item is the determination they make. And that determination they made is that this work would have no adverse effect on a potentially historic property. So and that's the letter basically that we would like to see from you. This gives our contact information. Like I said, I think that's as basic as we need. So that's the agency letter. Any questions about that? Okay. And so as you can see, this letter is in a PDF form. If you could submit us a PDF document, that is what we're looking for in this compliance system. It's easier for us to digest and to deal with if we have a PDF. And if you can put it further in a PDF-A form. So I have a little bit of information about that in the instructions. Don't want to get too into the weeds here, but if you can convert the letter into a PDF-A format, I think that would be great. And most Adobe products these days allow you to do that. And so let me show you an example of how you can save a letter in a PDF-A format. So here's a Word version of a letter I received. This was from the Community Development Corporation of Utah. I don't know if you're familiar with that agency, but we consult frequently with them. This is a Word letter they sent to us. This was before our compliance system was put into place. But this is a Word document, and so we're asking that you submit it to us in a PDF form. So all you would do is go over here and just click Save as Adobe PDF. And before you save it, just go into Options, and it should give you this option of Create a PDF-A. Click on that and click OK. Then you can just go ahead and I'll save this to my desktop and save that letter. And it should be able to save it as a PDF. And so, yeah, let's put that over there. So, okay. So now it's now saved as a PDF, and you can go ahead and upload that document into our E106 system, which I'll show you here in a second. And you can submit that letter to us. Go ahead and I don't need that. So, and like I said, there's some information here about creating a PDF form and submitting that to us. But if you're doing that and you have questions about that, or if you're unable to convert it to a PDF, then let me know and we can talk about options. So that's the first thing, is that agency letter. And on this website here, you'll see I give a little bit more detail for you to reference when you're putting together that agency letter. And we'll go into some of this detail a little bit here in a minute, like what's a historic building and what's the effect, the work you're going to have on the building. But I just want to show you quickly what we needed up front. So that's the agency letter. Now let's talk about the historic site form that I've mentioned. Just one second.
All your people are signed in. They all have passwords now.
Oh, cool.
So
Thank you.
all.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Elizabeth. You're good. Okay, so that was Elizabeth. She came in. She's the one that's kind of overseeing part of the system, and she'll be the gatekeeper to allow your sign-in. So if you've applied for an account, you should be in now. Sorry about that. So the 106 historic site form. And sorry, have many of you applied for an account yet that are on this meeting? Okay. I think a lot of you may have. So if you have, you should be in the system now. And yeah, I'll get into that in a minute. So let me talk about the historic site form real quick. So the 106 historic site form, it's the second document that I'd like you to attach and send to us. I'll ask you to send this along with the agency letter, and let me show you what that looks like. Yeah, and as you can see, it's available here on our website, but I'll also attach the actual document and send to Matt as well, that he can send out to all of you, so you don't have to go to this website to access it. So this is what the historic site form looks like. So it's a kind of a streamlined version of our larger historic site form that we have for people doing in-depth historic research on homes. So let me maybe walk through it with you. So you're working on a building, and you know you have to submit information to us. You just start filling this information out as soon as you can. If you have a building and you know it's a historic building and it has a historic name, you can type that in this first line. This first line is optional. I probably guess 99% of the time you won't have a historic name for the home, but if you do know it, that would be great, and you can just type that in. So we'll do that there. Your project title should be probably just the address of the property you're working on. 99% of the time, again, that should be the project title. So maybe we'll just make up an address: 300 South, 200. Let's do 200 East. We'll say this home is in Ogden. So that's your project title, and that'll also be your address: 300 South, 200 East, and say that's in Ogden and Weber County. And you don't have to worry about the latitude, longitude, or the geographical data options. That's mainly for other bigger projects that involve archaeology. So unless you're affecting, a potential archaeological site with ground disturbance, you don't need to worry about that. So let's see, we'll go ahead and say this home is eligible. And for the documentation, we'll say we're going to upload a couple photographs. And this document's great. I think it's easy to upload photos on it. I'll show you what that's like. You just attach them, embed them into this document. So this, unless you've done research on the home and done some additional work, you don't need to worry about those. If you have a map, a site sketch map, which you probably don't worry about that. And if you have other information, you can just click that and enter that information there. So we'll say this home was built in 1925. Maybe it's a single-story home. Let's increase this a little bit. Foundation material, it's likely concrete. Concrete. Wall materials will give you an option here. Probably a lot of the homes are brick. The current use, I'm guessing most of the homes you all work on are residential. So that's probably, going to be your go-to. Probably original use was, residential as well. If you know there are additions to the home, you can click that. Maybe there's a minor addition to the rear of the home or something. If you know there have been alterations to the home, click that. If there have been none, click that. And, then if, you want, you can describe the home here. So we'll say, this home has had a minor addition to the rear. Maybe they filled in the original sun porch and have turned that into a bedroom. You can note that there, and same with alterations. Maybe windows were replaced in the 1970s with aluminum sliders, something like that. So we know exactly what we're looking at here. Then here, you can just talk about whatever you're proposing. Replacing, rear windows, or whatever you might be doing. Then you just type in who completes this form, and state history, and the date here. So we have that. And then this is kind of a neat feature, I think, is just the ability to embed the photo in the document. So if you have a digital image of the photo, you just upload it here. Let's see, we'll do a couple photos. I have a couple saved, so you know, then you can go. There are options for 2 photos, and we'd ask for 2 photographs of the home, maybe 2 different angles of the home. And so let's see. So those are the 2 photos of the home. And I think you'd have your work cut out for you if you were weatherizing this home. So, but that's just an example of how you can embed the photos in this document. Then you just go ahead and save this document. Let's see, 300 south, 200 east, Ogden. You know, save that. And then once that's saved, you can go ahead and upload that to our electronic system. So I think it's pretty straightforward. As you do a couple of these, I think it'll become really, really easy to do. And so that's kind of the overview of the 2 documents I need.
Was that also in the PDF-A format?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about converting the historic site form document. Just fill in the information, then save it as it is.
Okay.
And then you can just submit that to us. Yeah, don't worry about converting that. It's already a PDF document, and we can digest that one. So it's just going from Word to PDF. When you do that, just transfer that into the PDF-A form. So just that one. So sorry I didn't make that clear, but that's how that would work. So those are the 2 documents we need, the agency letter and that historic site form. So are there any questions on that at this point? All right. And yes, if you think of questions later on, feel free to call me, email me, or ask me at the end of this presentation too, and that's fine. But like I said, most of the information should hopefully be on this website. You know, and I might need to update a little bit of this information a little bit to make it more clear as I look at it. But this will be kind of the main reference page. So from there, let's go to the actual system itself. So from this page, you'll click on this communityutah.gov/E106 link. And I know maybe some of you have already done that. So you get to this page. And from this page, on this blue bar here, it'll ask for you to request a new account if you don't have one. So we'll start with that. And the other information on this page is just informational. These are all the projects that our office have reviewed. So you can go ahead and see, you know, whoever has submitted a project to our office, you can go in and see what they've submitted and what the status of that case is. So, and that might be helpful to you. You know, if you've submitted a case to us and we haven't responded yet, you can go in and, as you can see, we're pretty on top of it at this point, as we're kind of early in the phase in this system, in this process. But I think we're pretty much closed on all the cases that's been submitted to us, you know, up to this point. But if it's not closed, you know, you'll see it's in process or it's been submitted, and you'll know where your case is. And you can search by agency, when it was submitted. So it's just informational. You know, it's information there for the public too. So know that any project you submit to us to, just the very basic information of it will be shown on this website. I don't think anything you're doing is too sensitive, so I think that would be okay. But anyway, that's that kind of public viewer part of it. But for you, most importantly, you know, if you're looking to request an account, go to this page and click this button here, request an account, and you just enter your information in here. your agency name, your salutation, whatever you like to be called. Enter that, your name. You're not consultant, so don't worry about this this question here. Enter your phone number here, your email address, and your address. Then you just click confirm, and that information will be submitted to us. Elizabeth, in the archaeology section, like I said, she's the gatekeeper. She'll look and make sure all your information is there, that we have everything we need. And if she's okay with it, she'll send an email to me saying, is this okay? I'll look at it and agree or disagree. Most of the time, no issues here. We'll just, allow you into our system. And so I think that's pretty straightforward. And so if you request an account and you don't get any feedback within a day or so, please let me know, and then I'll check into what's going on there. But you'll receive an account email that'll notify you that it's in our system. So you'll be notified that everything's okay and that it's being reviewed. And once it's been accepted, you'll receive another email too saying, yes, thank you, you've been accepted into our system, so you have an account. So once you receive that account, then you could start submitting cases. And we've created a step-by-step manual for submitting cases to our office. And that information is here. So you just click on that, and it'll bring up a step-by-step, a walkthrough on that. So, just briefly going over this, I don't have an external account, so I can't get into this side of it. But this is what it looks like. So, you'll come in, you'll log in, and then once you're logged in, you'll log in a new case. Just enter your information. And once you do, it should pull up if you have an account, which you will have if you can get this far. So then you log in a new case, and here's instructions for logging in a new case. Project title here. And like I said, your project title will probably just be the address of the home you're working on. If you have a home over 50 years old, you'll probably be submitting it to us. So you just enter that address into this project title, and that'll be the project title. Instead of like the homeowner's name, we don't need to know who the homeowner is. We just care about the address of the property. So please enter that as your project title. You'll confirm that, and then you can just add the information on the project. You'll look at your information, make sure that's still up to date, which it should be. If anything's wrong, you can edit that information. They'll ask you the status of the project. So as you're entering it, it's just in draft form. This is the big one, is the upload files. I'll be looking for that agency letter and that historic site form, in this section. So you'll upload those two documents once you're in this system. You'll upload those. If you upload those, I'll be happy. So, it shows you how to do that. And it's more uploading information. You'll have your two files that you've uploaded. And then there'll be some check boxes, you'll say, yes, I'm an agency requesting consultation. We've submitted this information. If you don't have GIS data, which you probably won't be submitting to us, don't worry about that. Don't worry about maps. You can click the photographs box. That's fine. If not, that's okay. And you won't need to click the cultural resources report. That's for archaeology. So the state project number, there's a box. There's, some information related to a state project number. These are not needed for building submissions, so you can see there. They're just for archaeology too. So you should be feeling pretty fortunate you're not dealing with archaeology projects. They require a lot more information. So don't worry about the state project number. That's information on that. And then, at the end, once you've uploaded your two files, essentially, you've checked a few boxes, and you just click submitted, and then it gets submitted up to our system. I'll get an email saying this has been submitted. The case number will pull up, and I can go in and look at the files you've uploaded. So that's the system in a nutshell. I think once you get into it, I think once you submit a case or two, it's pretty simple. I think if I can submit a case in it, which Elizabeth allowed me to do on her account, you guys should be able to as well. If you have questions, always feel free to call me. I can help you. Elizabeth can help you. And so just so you know, from my end, this is what it'll look like once the case is uploaded to the system. It'll give you all the information on you. This was from Partner Engineering and Science, who submitted a project to us. So all the information I see. So they uploaded several documents. I can download those, and I download those. Everything looks okay. I can go in and edit. And in the end, I can just go in and say the case is closed, and that I agree, with the project, that I concur. So we're still waiting for more information on this project, but for the most part, I think your cases are pretty straightforward. You guys have done a really good job of submitting me the information I need, and it's a very rare occasion if there's an adverse effect to a historic property to your projects. So, I mean, this is kind of a process. 99% of the time, I think it'll be pretty easy for me to go and just say I agree with what you submitted to me, and then we'll just automatically submit a letter back to you. So if I look at everything looks okay, I just click letter to the applicant. The letter will pull up, and I'll just put my signature on it, and I'll email it directly back to you. So you have that probably within the week, or probably within a day or two. So once you submit the information to us, there shouldn't be much lag time before you get a response back to us. This has simplified everything for us. I mean, the portion of the consultation process that took the longest before, of course, was the mail. Receiving the letter you submitted to us and receiving the letter you got back from us. Now that that's cut out, 2 or 3 days at the most is probably what you're looking at for a response. So I think that will really make things more efficient for you and your projects. So I know that's a lot of information. Hopefully it's not overload. But if you could just get into the system, create an account, and then submit a case, to us with that agency letter and the historic site form, I think we're good to go. And once you start submitting stuff to me, if issues come up, I will let you know. I'll call you, send you an email, say, hey, I need this or I need that, or maybe ask you, what's working for you with this system, what's not working. Try to tailor it to your needs. So hopefully that works. If you have questions, please let me know. So that's kind of an overview of the system. I have this PowerPoint, that I don't know that I really need to go through. It just talks about how, there are federal and state laws, some kind of our overall principles, and for that, I just want you to know that as an agency, you can make any choice you want for any project. We can work through it, but our office, these laws are not our office's laws. We're just given a role in these laws. These are federal and state laws that give us a role in the process, and we want to make sure your project works and that it meets your needs. And I think for most projects, we can balance those needs with preservation. So, we can't tell you no on any project. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. There's always a path forward. Maybe keeping that in mind. This talks about the federal law and the state law. There are both federal and state laws. So if you're receiving federal and or state funding, you'll need to talk to us. The federal law says that, if you have a project that's going to affect historic properties, you'll need to talk to us. Same with the state law. It's kind of a watered down version of the federal law. For documentation, in the laws it says, everything you submit to us must be adequately documented. And so that agency letter and that historic site form meet this documentation requirement. Maybe this is for another meeting, we can have with you guys, but talking about historic properties, what's a historic property? A historic property, in short, is anything that's included in or is eligible for the National Register. And the benchmark for a property being listed on the National Register is that it's over 50 years old and that it hasn't been altered too much. So if you have a building that's over 50 years old and it hasn't been altered too much, and that's what we mean by integrity. It hasn't been mucked up or changed too much, that it still has the original windows, the original, brick or original siding. If you have a building that's over 50 years old and it seems to retain that integrity, then I would just go ahead and say the building's an eligible historic building. And you must make that call regardless. So if you say the building's not historic and it's over 50 years old, I'm going to ask you why that building's not, why you consider that not historic or ineligible for the National Register. And to make that argument, you're going to have to show that it's been altered over time, that the windows are no longer historic, that the original brick home has been sided with vinyl siding or something like that that really affects the integrity. And the other point I'd like to make is that building condition is not the same as architectural integrity. So building condition, and the building might be in really poor condition, it hasn't been well maintained, but it could still have that historic integrity. It could still have the original windows, the original siding, original everything, but it's not in good shape. I mean, we care less about the condition of the home at this point than we do about its integrity. So, a home could still be considered historic even though it's in really poor condition. So I just want to make that distinction. You really don't have to worry about the area potential effects. Your projects will be the building and the building envelope itself. So we'll focus on that. And then, you can make a couple different calls when you submit a project to us. Like I showed in that agency letter. Let's see. So they made the call that it would have no adverse effect on the historic property with this project. And so, there's no historic properties affected calling you can make, which means that, you're doing all this work to the building, but the building's not historic anymore because it's been altered significantly. No adverse effect is when you have a historic building, but you're doing changes to the building that doesn't really affect the character of the building. You're putting in a new furnace, or you're replacing a rear window of the home, stuff like that won't cause us any grief. And then if you do say want to adversely affect a home, which we don't really see from you guys, you're not out really altering homes. You're usually improving homes, giving them more of a life, more of a future. But if you're replacing original front windows of the home, say, then there's a potential you could adversely affect that home. If they're nice, say leaded, double hung windows, original wood windows, then we'll look at that project closely. And if you have an adverse effect, this is kind of what this is going through. If you adversely affect a historic building, there's a process through that where we can resolve them. We create an agreement, you mitigate for that effect, but I don't want to get into that because it really hasn't been an issue with you guys. And also, I don't know how many of you have looked at this document, but there is an agreement with weatherization programs in Utah. It's from 2010, it's good till 2020. And the most important thing here is that it lists a lot of work that's exempt from our review. So if you're doing this work that's listed in this agreement, then we don't need to review it. And I'm sure many of you are aware of this agreement. If not, I'll send this along to Matt too, so you can look through it. There's a lot of bureaucratic language here. Basically what it says, if you have a home that's over 50 years old, you'll submit it to us, the project to us unless you're doing this work. And I think a lot of this work you're doing, don't have a lot of time here to go through this, but exterior work, you can see the type of work that's exempt from our review, so you don't even have to submit it to us. You just make a note in your file. However you do that, that's fine. Most interior work you do is probably exempt from our review. There's a whole list here. Continues down here, no consultation required. So all the work you do, it's great work, and it's not going to, damage this historic home, so we don't need to really spend our time reviewing it. So if you haven't looked at this agreement, it might be worthwhile to look at. There's the letter that talks about it when this document was signed. That's that kind of in an overview. Kind of speeding through things here, but I'll send these documents and these links to Matt so he can send out to you. If you have questions, let me know. Here's my information. Feel free to contact me. And so I guess with that, I will end. I see it's about 9 o'clock. I don't want to keep you if you need to run. But I guess I'll open it up to questions now if there are any specific questions that you have. So I'll throw that out there.
Perfect. You guys got questions for Chris?
Good info, thanks.
Well, thank you for taking time to listen to me this morning. Like I said, there's a lot of information, but I think if I send these documents and these links to Matt and he sends them out to you, that you can maybe spend a little more time looking at them and getting to know them a little bit, and we'll be happy to work you through this system. So I think it'll really help your projects and improve the efficiency on our consultations. So thanks.
All right. Anybody else got any other questions? I've got one or two for you. The one question I had, so once we actually submit something to you, can we go back and look at that public view and see that we've submitted it? Is that going to show up kind of automatically?
Yeah, as you submit it, if you enter all the check all the boxes, enter that information, submit it to us, it will show up automatically on that public viewer, and it'll likely be in the submit phase shortly after you send it to us. And there might be a little bit of lag time, an hour or two to get through the Salesforce system, which is the platform we've used. But yeah, maybe go back in an hour or two and check it. And if it's not there, then let us know, and we can go in and see what the holdup is. I mean, the important thing is, I think the most important thing when you're submitting the projects to us is that end phase, you click submit. Make sure you click submit and get it out of draft form, because the only time we're not notified of the project is when it's in draft form, because the system will read that it's still in your guys' court. But once you take it out of that draft item, that draft form option, and click submit or anything else, it'll be sent to us. So that's kind of the most important button to push there, is submit. So draft to submit. And let me get back to that real quickly. Let's see. So yeah, at the end, I might have passed it already. Let's see. So yeah, at the end it'll ask you, so right here at the status, kind of at the end, change the status field from draft to submitted. And once that happens, it triggers a lot of things. So they'll show up on that website. We'll get an email saying something's been submitted. So yeah, just don't forget that step, and we're good.
Okay. And my other question was, from time to time, we will, we call it fuel switching. We'll switch from propane to natural gas, and we end up having to dig a line set for the natural gas line.
Okay.
Are we skirting some of that archaeological stuff, and what would we need to know about that?
Well, where the property's already been developed as on the lot, I don't know that that would be so much an issue. I will talk to my archaeologist colleagues and see what they would expect from that. I don't think much would be required for that, but let me verify with them, and I'll get back to you on that question.
Okay.
That's a good question. So I don't see that being an issue, though.
Cool.
You might just want to reference that in the letter you send to us, so it's noted. But yeah, and ultimately, we can put a catch-all phrase in it that if you dig that trench or that line and you come across an artifact or some archaeology, that you'll notify our office, and that would be suffice. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Anybody else have any other questions? All right. Yeah, and absolutely, as Chris has mentioned, Chris, if you'll just send me that stuff, I typically do a follow-up email after this, so I'll include all of the reference material in that, and then also if any of that stuff is appropriate, we may add some links or some of the materials just to our website under our resources page, so you guys will have those in the future. So.
Okay, yeah, I think most of that's public information, so I'll note on there if there's any issues. But yeah, I think that should be fine.
All right. Well, Chris, thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time this morning. We really appreciate it, and thanks for all you do we regularly have your name in our files, so we appreciate all your help from your office and stuff.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. Like I said, the work you do is great, and we appreciate all your efforts. And you're helping preserve the life of a lot of homes, in Utah by doing this work. So it benefits us greatly. So thanks.
Thank you for that. All right.
Thanks for the time.
Thanks everybody for attending. You guys have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Yep. See ya.